Well, it impacts every American. Just as Oklahoma entrepreneurs, energy entrepreneurs have elevated the standard of living by finding more energy and lowering the cost, they are strangleholding the coal industry and even the natural gas, that's next. But with the EPA, you're fighting not an agency of the government insofar as an ideology, dare I say, a religion. They have their religion, I have mine. Their religion, though, however, I think transgresses the U.S. Constitution and state sovereignty. It doesn't have any common sense to it. How it impacts Oklahomans directly is they are shutting down a perfectly good coal plant in Oologah, Oklahoma. They're shutting it down. Why? Because they want to give a sacrificial lamb to the feds, say, shut this one down. It's clean. The average cost of the energy input into that plant is 1.25 cents per kilowatt hour. Steady, clean coal. And yet they want to shut it down, which will raise double digits the costs of all Oklahomans' energy, including big business. Not good for Oklahoma, not good that we've surrendered on a sue to settle basis our sovereign rights to the EPA.
What about the impact that other federal regulatory agencies are having on the economy? We know that the fourth branch of government, which includes a multitude of alphabet agencies, EPA we've discussed, that's the big gorilla out there that's doing the most damage, but we've got OSHA, we've got the various other regulatory agencies. How does that impact the ability to create jobs?
Well, obviously it creates jobs, but outside the United States. The burden of regulation is overwhelming. According to one stat, 12% of the gross domestic product in this country goes to fulfill one type of regulation or another. But let me refer to a great liberal lion, Senator George McGovern. After he was kicked out of the Senate in the Reagan Revolution of 1980, he went off to Connecticut to start a small business, where for the first time in his life he encountered regulators from the county, the state, the city, the feds, competition, lawyers, lawsuits, workers' comp fraud, and competition and customers. And he went broke. And he wrote an article in 1992 in the Wall Street Journal where he said, if I had had that life of experience of knowing what bureaucracy does to the heart and soul of a business, if I had had that life experience, I would have made a finer U.S. Senator and a finer candidate for President of the United States. That is what is missing from this administration. We had talked earlier that for every one law that comes out of our elected representatives in Congress, 56 laws come out of the bureaucracy. 56 to 1. That's hard to beat those odds. And we've surrendered our sovereignty systematically, like a lobster boiling, to the bureaucrats and to the courts. And it's extremely dispiriting. But yet, we won the last revolution. We need to win the next one.
Absolutely. And right now we have a Democratic administration, the Obama administration, which is using all of that huge bureaucracy, wielding it very devastatingly against the economy. However, many of those agencies were created by Republican administrations or have been sustained by Republican Congresses and Republican administrations. And so Congress, Republicans and Democrats, have to take responsibility for allowing this regulatory monstrosity to continue. Isn't that right?
Well, you're absolutely right. EPA came from Nixon. The most recent entitlement in terms of free meds came out of Bush. But there is very little appetite for making the hard choices in government. And now we have succeeded to where nearly half of all households receive a government check. Who's going to raise their hand and say, take mine from me, I'll give it up? Now we have a quandary, but the way I see things, it's very simple. I was once told by a professor in college, things that are good are simple. Things that are evil are complex. The larger government becomes, the more our freedoms shrink. I think that Republican or Democrat, it's very similar. The Republicans want to be everyone's best friend when they get into office. They want to be reelected. They want to be the class president back in high school. These days call for a different spirit and a different defiance when it comes to federal intrusion into our lives. It is no longer acceptable to me, and it ought not to be acceptable to anyone who cares about the future of America, or even present-day America, what is going on coming out of the bureaucracy, coming out of the courts. We need to push back.